Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our favorite carbon fiber. So on this episode of what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be dipping, we're actually going to be doing a Dodge Viper dash. So we're pretty excited about it. I think you guys are really going to love it. But there's a couple of things to look at, and I know I kind of go over a couple of things on each video, but this one is definitely no different than any of the others. So we've got our dash here, and so this is pretty much, I believe this one's a 94, and this is what the dash looks like, completely out of it, torn apart, no vents, gauges, anything like that. So a couple of things to remember whenever you're dipping these. Number one, the customer is wanting all these other parts done, the door handles, the actual glove box cover, things like that. So of course, we have to do it and make everything match. The other thing is that the center console, because everything is so tight in that car, the center console actually attaches right here. So then the other thing is that you also have door handles that fit about right here and right here. And so the problem is that we got to make sure that everything flows the way that it needs to. So the first thing is figuring out which way does the carbon need to go. Well, of course, in a pattern, in a part like this right here, we can really only go one way because the film isn't wide enough to stretch all the way across this way. It's only wide enough to go this way, and then we just lay down a longer piece, just like we had before in the other videos. So the other thing to remember is that whenever you're doing a job like this, you've got to kind of think about it a little bit, and you got to make sure that you know which parts to dip first, because all of the way that this is set up will dictate the way that every other part is laid out. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So we dip this right here, and let's say that if we did not know that, let's say that we just dipped this piece and the carbon is running just like that, right? All right, everything looks great, everything's perfect. So now we have this glove box, and then we dip it going this way. Carbon's running this way, everything looks great, everybody loves it. Now we go and we dip this right here, the center console. Let's dip it maybe like this. Everything looks great, everybody loves it. So now what you're starting to see is we have these door panels, these door handles for each side, and let's just say that we grabbed both of them, we dipped them like this, and both of them are now running this way and this way. All right, so now let's see how everything lines up. So the biggest thing is we have our dash right here, and then this lines up like this. Well, of course, as you can tell, this carbon going this way is not going to line up with this carbon going this way. So now this is a complete redo, because we can't redo this. The carbon can only go one way, going across this entire big piece. So then we come back in, we do our glove box. Glove box is the same way. We might have dipped it the right way, we might not have. But the biggest thing is that we've got to make sure that these carbon lines all go the right way, because of course, especially in a Viper, and it doesn't even have to be a Viper, it could be a Corvette, a Maserati, a Viper, a Honda Civic, anything, Toyota Camry, whatever, doesn't matter. It's still got to look good. No matter if it is a high-end car or a low-end car, the job still has to look good whenever it goes out the door. I guess technically it doesn't if you don't really care, but for us, we definitely care. We want to make sure that it's right. So this is definitely a way to make sure that you get everything right. So pretty much now, whenever we have these are actually setting just like this whenever they're in the car. And so you can kind of see, sitting like this right here, this carbon running this way, now this carbon isn't going to match. So again, it's on something like this, the carbon is always going to be dictated by your biggest piece. So definitely remember that whenever you are dipping, because sometimes it's very easy to take and pretty much have all these little pieces and you're like, oh, I can just dip these, and you grab them, you dip them, everything's looking great, and then you put them up against the car, like over here, and then you get this up right here, and then you start to realize, oh, that one's going this way, this one's going that way, now I got a problem. So definitely try to take the time, make sure that everything looks the way that it needs to and everything flows all nice and easy. Other thing that you can do is even take, and this is actually a customer supplied picture of what we need to do for some A-pillars. And so we know exactly on these A-pillars, they're going this way and they're going that way. So that way we know exactly which way the carbon needs to run on any piece that we have coming in here. It's something that we do all the time. It's kind of a normal process. It does take a little bit longer, but at the same time, we want to make sure that it looks good and it's functional and it looks very well. And so for something like that, you got to take the time, spend a little bit of time and just research it, make sure, even Google it, web search. There's tons of photos out there to see where all these parts and components fit, to make sure that you get all of your lines either going directional like this away from you, or all running the exact same way. Whatever the customer wants, that's what you definitely need to do. So in this case, let's go ahead and we'll move all of these pieces out over here. We'll get started with this main dash and then show you guys a few things on what we're going to be doing. So whenever we're dipping this main dash, we've got a curve that comes up right around in here. We also have these little vents that you can see that are coming outwards right in here and in here and in here. Now, of course, on something like that, we already know just from experience, we're gonna have to black in most of this area back in here because the film is not gonna stretch all the way down inside there. I mean, you're talking a good 4 to 6 inch stretch all the way down in here. And it's possible, but it's not gonna look good. And of course, the customer's not going to love it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and dip it, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna black out all of this in here. We'll probably black out his rings, make it look really nice. We might not do these, just depends on how it looks and how it comes out. But the big thing is that we will do these main ones for the gauges right up and through here. So as far as dipping goes, this is actually going to be a pretty simple, easy dip. We're going to pretty much hold it like this, and then we're just going to slowly feed it down into the water, just like that. The carbon, once it hits right here, it'll start to wrap around, and then as it comes up into here, it'll wrap in like that and then roll back up. And so if you wanted to, you're more than welcome to tape off a lot of these areas right in through here, right in this center part right here for your center console, just to make sure that as you're going down into the water, the film doesn't void out or something like that. It's not fully necessary, but if you want to do that just as a safety precaution, certainly not gonna hurt anything. The one thing to make sure of is that you go nice and steady as you're going down into the water, and you should be fine. The other thing to remember is that if you do have this rolled edge right up here, and if you do have it to where it's more up like this instead of like that, that's going to possibly create a problem, because if you're up like this and you're going down inward with it, this edge right here is actually fairly, it's going to be fairly straight across, and the film's going to have a little bit harder time rolling up and around that, versus if you keep it more at this angle like this, the film can come up and then roll and keep going upwards instead of coming around like that. So that's one thing to keep in mind whenever you are doing that. A lot of times some customers will actually back tape this area right through here just to help bring that film up and over as it wraps around from the start of the edge right here all the way around and then back down like that. And that's probably what we'll end up doing. We'll get some 2-inch tape, we'll lay that down. It's not going to take very long at all, just to kind of help that film come up and then wrap around this edge like this. Now again, you probably saw it, we don't do a lot of back taping, but on this one we will, just to kind of show you guys what we're talking about and what we're going to be doing. So let's go ahead, let's get this prepped, let's get the film laid out, get it ready to dip, and show you guys a carbon fiber carbon fiber VIPER dash. So stay tuned. so we've got our film cut, we've got the part laid out, we're pretty much ready to go. So we'll kind of show you guys a few things on this. So of course you can see we've got a nice little back taped edge all the way around right up through here, and then comes all the way down to this. And then the other thing is that we've taped up mainly right in here for like the steering column, and of course right in here for our center console and our
glove box.
Glove box. Thank you, cameraman.
Yeah.
But you'll also notice that we did not tape any of these holes for the gauges, any of these holes for the gauges, or of course any of the vents. Vents we don't really care too much about because there will be a vent there, so it's actually going to have something sticking out of it or right up against it, so we're not too worried about that. The other thing that I wanted to kind of mention was that we did not tape these up, and so the reason why is that as we're going down into here, this is going to create a really big air pocket whenever we're coming down. So if we tape up this entire area on the back side of this right here, then it's going to create a big air pocket, and then it's not going to let any of this film that's coming into here actually allow itself to go up into this. So if we wanted to get the maximum amount of film to stretch in there as much as possible, we definitely we could tape the hole, but at least just leave a little bit of a slit or something to where air can escape out at the top edge of this, because as we're going down with it, then this backside would be the top. So we want to make sure that we leave a little bit of space to allow that air to escape out. So in this case, it's not going to really affect us hardly at all, but if we were wanting to tape that, that's what you want to do to try to make sure that you prevent any of the actual film from trapping an air pocket, because you have taped all around the back side of the gauges. So we've got everything taped. I think everything's looking good. We're ready to go ahead, get this in the water, and dip this and show you guys a carbon fiber VIPER dash. So here we go. So one thing that I just noticed is, and I'm glad I caught this, you know, we always have these PPS cups and they're clear liners. So went to go almost lay this down on the water, and of course I saw that I am pretty much almost out of activator. Whoever was using that the last time apparently didn't think about whenever I'm going to use it the next time and didn't fill it up, so now I'm stuck filling it up. So whoever that was, I want to thank you for that. Yep, you're welcome. Anyways, so on a piece like this, we definitely want to make sure that we have plenty of activator on the actual in the gun to put it on here, and that we don't have anything that spits or we run out of activator or anything like that. So always make sure you have a full gun whenever you're doing a larger piece like that. So let's get this filled up, get it in the gun, then try to get this on the water and go from there. All right, let's dip this in and get it looking good. So you notice that whenever I was coming in, I started it about like this, and then I started to actually go forward with it, as well as whenever I was coming forward, I was actually twisting it just a little bit, ever so slightly, to help wrap it around. Even though we have the back tape on it, I still want to make sure that I have no actual stretch or anything in the film. So we'll go ahead, we'll pull this out and see how everything looks. All right. I think overall this turned out very beautiful. Got a little bit of excess right here. All that stuff will wash out off whenever we rinse it. And so you can see it'll literally just rinse right off once we throw a little water on it, and you can just move that right off. All in all though, inevitably it's going to have a little bit of stretch in here because of the angle and all that we had to go in it, but everything else looks beautiful. We even got a very good wrap all the way inside in here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but we got a really good wrap all the way around in there. So I think overall this was definitely a very good hit. So now that we got our pattern, we got our design, which way that we know that we need to go, now we can mock everything else up just like what we did before. Make sure we put everything the exact way that it's going, and then that way whenever the whole piece of the car is together, everything will match 110%. So really happy with the way this turned out. Let's go ahead, let's get the other parts dipped, get them in the water, get them rinsed and clear coated, and show you guys the end result, so stay tuned. All right, so we've got everything clear coated, pulled it out of the booth. Definitely came out beautiful. The customer is definitely going to love it. So kind of a little recap of what all we've done. As you can tell, we've got high gloss all the way around this entire thing, all carbon fiber. Everything looks beautiful on this dash. We're very happy with it. A couple of things is we went back through, and just like I was saying before, of course the stretch in here and everything like that, we came back in, we airbrushed it all black just to make sure that it had all of that factory look to it, but it still gave a very nice subtle look, and you also get that nice black look all the way around just on these gauges itself. So we've got the black in here, all inside here, all of these 3 gauges right up through here, and then we've also taken and did the black ring in all of these 4 gauges up through here. So then that way it gives a very nice factory appearance, but you get definitely a one-off look. So then that way everything looks like it was made just like that. And so just like what I was saying before, you know, we had to dip this all in separate sections because we had to do this first, and then we had to go through and do the center console, and then the glove box, and then the sides and all of that to make sure that everything matches. And so we've got our glove box right here that you can tell that we've got done. Came out beautiful as well. But the nice thing is that whenever we set this down just like this, the carbon lines up very, very well. So we're really happy about that. And of course the center console that goes on right here for the shifter and everything, everything came out beautiful with it, lines up really well. So taking the time, making sure all of your lines match up, make sure that you get that exactly the way that you need to, is going to make the job look 10 times better, and the customer's definitely going to love it, because then they don't have some weird carbon going this way and then your other carbon's going this way, and then of course it doesn't match. So if you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. We'd love to hear from you on anything that you've got hydrographics related, or even let me know what you think about how these gauges turned out or anything like that. Do you think the body color would have been better to do on the gauges, or do you think the black is really nice and subtle and everything came out exactly the way that you probably would have done it if this was in your car? Also, if you like the video, definitely give us a big thumbs up. We'd love to have that. And as always, I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and we're making hydrographics great again. We'll see you guys next time.